Near the city of Huliaipole, in the Zaporizhzhia region, the 33rd Separate Assault Regiment of the Ground Forces of Ukraine and other related assault and mechanized units held back the offensive of the occupation forces of the aggressor country Russia. According to the Southern Ukrainian Defense Forces, Ukrainian troops have regained control of the situation in this area, and the front has been stabilized. The enemy is suffering heavy losses. Military observer Vasyl Pekhnyo also confirmed on Ranok.LIVE that, despite the difficult situation, Ukrainian units have stabilized their defenses in the Huliaipole area. He also reported on the enemy's operations in this section of the front. Russian occupation forces are using commanding heights east of Huliaipole to cut off Ukrainian logistics. The Russians are using artillery, aircraft, and drones to secure the heights and control the approaches to the city. However, the Ukrainian defenders are resisting the enemy and now have a clear plan. The plan is to make Huliaipole into some kind of absolute red line, beyond which the Russians would not be allowed to cross, or at least linger for very long, so that they can be destroyed, Pekhnyo said. The main Russian goal in this sector is to advance north of Huliaipole. By doing so, Russian forces aim to establish a third axis of pressure and set the conditions for a potential operational encirclement by pressuring Ukrainian defenses from three directions. The decision to bypass Huliaipole from the north is driven by two key factors. First, Huliaipole serves as the largest and most fortified Ukrainian stronghold in the region. A frontal assault on the town would inevitably result in severe Russian losses, which could rapidly erode their current manpower advantage and stall the wider offensive effort. Second, capturing the area north of Huliaipole would open a corridor enabling Russian forces to push deeper into the Zaporizhzhia and Dnipropetrovsk regions. This approach would allow them to avoid engaging Ukraine's strongest defensive lines, increasing the likelihood of sustaining operational momentum. To fulfill their objective, Russian forces committed approximately 40,000 troops to secure overwhelming numerical superiority and concentrated their main effort on Uspennivka, the key Ukrainian strongpoint on the western bank of the Yanchel River. Given the settlement's advantageous position, the only feasible Russian approach was to overpower Ukrainian positions, infiltrate the village, and establish a bridgehead. To set the conditions, Russians intensified drone operations, artillery fire, and airstrikes, with over 400 shells landing daily according to the Ukrainian Southern Defense Forces. This sustained pressure gradually leveled fortified positions in and around Uspennivka. Ukrainian reaction proved too slow to counter the pace of developments, amplifying strain on frontline units. Seizing the opportunity, Russian assault groups exploited dense morning fog to conceal their movement, allowing them to concentrate sufficient forces at a critical point and initiate a breakthrough against the weakened Ukrainian defenses. Following their concentrated push, Russian forces captured Uspennivka, opening a broad operational space north of Huliaipole. The scattered villages across the fields between the two rivers quickly became exposed targets for the 40,000-strong Russian reserves, who flooded the area faster than Ukrainian drones could kill them. Nevertheless, Solodk and Zelenski High remain holding due to their closer access to Ukrainian supply routes. Ukrainian Special Operations Forces have knocked the Russians out of an apartment block along with their regrouping. The troop carried out a precise strike on the occupiers in Pokrovsk, eliminating their concentration point and disrupting preparations for regrouping and further advance, Euromaidan press media outlet says. Russia continues massive attempts to capture Pokrovsk, with more than 100,000 Russian soldiers now concentrated on this axis. The offensive has been ongoing for over a year, according to Andriy Natov, chief of the General Staff of Ukraine, as reported by Liga.net. The significant parts of the city have been occupied. Currently, Ukrainian forces are conducting search and assault operations in the urban area, eliminating enemy groups and preventing Russian troops from entrenching themselves. At the same time, additional logistics routes to Pokrovsk and its twin city of Myrnohrad are being arranged to ensure continuous support for Ukrainian troops, writes the East Command. Special operations units delivered another effective strike against targets in the Donetsk Oblast. In Pokrovsk, loitering munitions hit an apartment building where Russian units had set up a temporary base before their next advance, Euromaidan Press says. The building became a deadly trap, with the strike eliminated the Russian personnel inside. Another precise strike hit the settlement of Kamyanka in the Pokrovsk district, destroying a brigade-level ammunition depot. According to special forces, the blast destroyed stockpiles belonging to Russia's 137th Separate Rifle Motorized Brigade. The nature of the enemy's actions indicates an intention to cut the overland connection between Myrnohrad and Pokrovsk in the near future. The Russians aim to encircle the city by advancing towards the settlements of Rivne and Svitol. It is also noted that the Russians are trying to storm the northern part of Myrnohrad with small infantry groups. The enemy is on the move around the clock and uses drones to adjust its movements. We are reinforcing our grouping in the city to defend its southern outskirts. In this area, the enemy is trying to build up manpower for further attempts to advance, the 7th Corps of the Air Assault Forces of Ukraine added. In addition, in the northeast of Myrnohrad, the 38th Separate Marine Brigade named after Hetman Petro Sahodokhnyi took 4 Russian occupiers prisoner as they tried to storm the city. 3 of the detainees are former convicts who were released after signing military contracts. According to the Russians, before the assault they spent 4 days living in the basement of a building in a neighboring settlement. The assault troops were not provided with either food or water. After their detention, our defenders provided the prisoners with all the necessary conditions and assistance in accordance with international humanitarian law.